Okay, so let's get started. I want to start off with some basic announcements. Portrait Studio sale is over, but it just so happens I forgot to turn the sale off. So it's currently running. I'll probably leave it on a day or two, and then it'll go back to regular price or partially regular price. It goes back up to being like 20% off the $90 price. So many of you are grabbing it, and so many of you are happy to have it. I just feel so bad putting the price back up, but I have to stay fair to myself and my team. So that's Portrait Studio, and you're going to see me use a little bit of it today for the cool illustration I'm about to take a look at. But tiny little mini announcement. A lot of people ask me about my wish list, but I did make a wish list, but it's full of flower seeds. I love gardening. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but I'm obsessed with it. And I thought it would be really cool if I finally did start a wish list, especially considering how many people asked me about my wish list, which I never had before this. But I'm going to make it a collaborative community project, and a lot of these are mixed seeds. So if you guys are interested in adding to the garden, a lot of people have grabbed some already. I have gotten 4 packets already. If you guys, it's not a very long list, and most of these are not that expensive. There are a couple that are pretty big. For instance, my lawn is pretty big, so this is like the most expensive thing on it at the moment. And yeah, this should cover that big circle, which I'm talking about like 20 feet diameter circle that I won't be mowing for the sake of the bees. Yeah, if you guys are interested, if you guys have been waiting for me to release a wish list, this is the only wish list I'll ever release. Flowers are just amazing. There's so much to learn about them, and I'm obsessed with gardening lately because I finally have my own place to garden. And if you guys are interested, you can find the link on this video. It's available there in my stories on my Instagram. Let's get started for today. I think that's it for announcements. Let's get started. So let's take a look at this piece. What are some of the issues with it that we see? One of the biggest issues is that the same light is accessible to all parts of the illustration. This area sticks out further than this area, and this area sticks out just a little bit further than this area. So if we were to draw this from the side, perfect side view, she'd be doing something like that. And like the chest area really sticks out, and then we've got something like that. So what happens when light falls on an object that looks like this? What does that look like? Well, she's underwater, so the light can only come from above. It can come from other objects, but as minor lights, secondary light sources, or a general ambience if there's a lot of miniature lights glowing in the area. But the main light, the reason why we're seeing her, the one that makes the most sense, is the one that comes from above. And then this arm looks much longer than this one. This one, while bent, is longer than this one. So when this one elongates, it'll be even longer than this one, which is this long. So we're talking about this length versus this length. So I've separated those layers from each other. I'm going to increase this action. I'm going to decrease her size because she is too big for her own canvas, which is another mistake you made. Her head should not be hitting the ceiling. There should be enough breathing room to deliver your painting and just still have enough space for your character so nothing feels stunted or awkward. I have the model right here. What I'm going to do is actually mess around with the model's proportions. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that properly. Okay, so I'm going to shrink her torso and elongate it. And so everything is just all distorted, but the reason I'm doing all of this is for one key reason. I'm going to actually elongate the head, fix the camera, and then just tilt that head back down. And I'm going to be exaggerating this a lot more. So what I usually do sometimes when you're dealing with a really crazy shot like this, you have all the light right where you want it. You can adjust your reference as much as you need. So let me turn that off, because the light is exactly where it's supposed to be. And so you can elongate, distort even more so that you have that shadow as accurate as you need it. So for the tail, I really will go for it and just kind of make it feel a little bit crazy. And then just kind of get those fins there and just mess around a little bit, pushing the chest upward towards the light, and then just having a generally more anatomically kind of familiar mermaid shape. And in a second, I'm going to start storytelling with light, which is exactly what I did with my reference over there. I want those long shadows to act like there is this really, really believable kind of depth to the water, and she's just not near the surface, but she's deep enough. She's an anglerfish, basically. You've got a glowing element here you've completely neglected. And that glowing element, it's part of the storytelling. She's supposed to be some kind of hunter anglerfish character, and we're not even seeing that because you're not even using the shadow you're supposed to be using to tell the story. So I'm going to duplicate this layer and then just do some basic darkening, and then I'm going to delete where I need light to stay. So I'm going to pick a local blue color, any blue color that I have here. I'm going to put it on darken, and I'm just going to darken the scene. Okay, I'm going to go move into the chest area. A little bit on the arm. I'm not guessing anymore. This is no longer a guessing game. This is all just really, really believable. I mean, this alone has made it so much more atmospheric. Just these changes made the character feel more realistic. You guys are always showing too much. You remember the light about a scene, but you don't remember the shadows about a scene. So if a scene inspired you in a movie, you actually don't remember the shadow of it. You remember the light of it. So you think, yeah, more light, the more I have. It's such a big mistake. It's so unfortunate to think like that. Because if you looked closely, if you watched that movie like an artist, you would notice that actually is not as much light as I saw, and I'm actually not seeing the shadows in the scene. So reference movies and really spend time looking at the shadow work in a movie scene and how it's pulling off that feeling. So next step would be to remember which parts, just to remind ourselves really quickly, which parts are supposed to be a little bit more bright. So this whole anglerfish cap here, I'm just going to just add a little bit more brightness, just so it completes the story. I'm going to add some of that brightness onto the skull. And this also is another form of storytelling. That's how this human died, because he fell for the light. He went toward the light, thought he was discovering something, and then died. And then I'm just gonna get kind of like a medium-sized brush with a medium tone, and then just throw a bit more of these. And this is the point where you could mess around with 1 pixel width brush, because at this point it is hair that's all flyaway. In this case, it's all feeling like flyaway hair, and we've already established the bulk of the hair, and it's underwater, and it's a sea creature, so you do want to take advantage of all that. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to add those patterns that kind of make the hair look three-dimensional, all responding to the same light source from above. So this section here would reject a lot of light, and then we'd have another little rejection of light there, and then another little rejection of light there, but we'd have a highlighter kind of traveling across the body of hair, just like that, going up into a point, and then we just kind of keep following that same pattern until we get continuous kind of feeling that all the hair is just flowing in the same direction. It's just all messy. Just adding a little bit more. Okay, and then that glow definitely did a lot. I do like it, so I'm just gonna keep it. I'm gonna make it a little bit more blue. I'm just gonna be selective with it. I don't want it everywhere, so that when I do add it on something, it won't feel over the top. But adding a little bit as a spotlight behind her will help her feel translucent, will help her feel like she's a little bit see-through. Find a balance between your creativity and the tropes, and it's smooth sailing from there. So before, after. So before, what did we have? We had an awkward arm, we had bulk in the hair. Almost all the parts of the drawing were all glowing in the same way. There was no atmospheric light. There was no storytelling with the light at all. After, we've created a texture difference between the hair. Obviously the hair needs more work, but we created a texture difference between the hair and everything else. Here, the hair looks like it's made out of whatever the rest of her is made out of. Any bioluminescence is always going to have a bit of green and yellow in it. You don't really get those pure crystalline blues without some sunlight to push it forward. The way to have better creature design is to look up references of where these creatures, where you're referencing them from, where they're coming from in your world, in your, in our world, and then, move that into the world of your drawing. So help yourself by looking up where these creatures come from so that you can have more cool, believable creature designs that make somebody do a double take for your portfolio, because they're like, holy cow, this looks so real, feels real. What are they basing that off when they say something looks and feels real? They're basing it off the world. And that's the only one we have, and that's the one we reference when we draw. So thank you everyone for watching. I used Portrait Studio today. For anyone curious what it is, you can go crazy with it. But I also liquefied the reference as well, just to make it look a bit more like the reference, but I didn't really try too hard. I was just after the shoulder area just to make sure that feels realistic, because in the before, your light was all over the place. So I was just mostly after this. But you can customize, you can go crazy with it. It's currently on sale. And so to get your work critiqued, you go to istebrak.com and you click on the subreddit icon right here. Upload it to the subreddit, or you go to the community tab and click here to join the official Discord server. Today I grabbed this particular piece from the Discord. A couple critique hours ago, I grabbed one from the subreddit. You can upload to both, and that's how you can get both. Thank you everyone for watching. Please consider looking through my wish list for my gardening wish list project for this year. It is going to be just a collaborative project, building a whole garden in my backyard out of these seeds. I will never say no to seeds. This is the only wish list I'll ever make. Yeah, I just can't wait to get started. I'm starting all the seeds in my basement. So if you learned some today and you want to give back and you don't really want to join on Patreon, I do have this one-time wish list available right now before I start my 2023 gardening and all the seeds starting in February and March. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.